Hey everyone, welcome in. Facebook Live time. I'm excited. It's Monday. And I don't know why I'm excited about it being Monday. I guess I just am. Part of it is because I get to start a new book. So as you guys know, 30 books in 30 weeks. We are actually on week 4. Like we're going all the way in on a month already. It doesn't even seem possible. So this week we are talking about this little gem right here, Codependent No More. And this book is absolutely amazing. Hey, DeAndre. This book is great. I read this book when I was recovering from and healing from domestic violence. Was my first experience with this book and understanding what codependency is all about. So as you guys come in, please, if you would, share this video out. Invite some other people to join us on this live stream. And we're going to talk about codependency. And if you happen to be chiming in for the first time, what's going on, Jay? If you happen to be chiming in for the very first time, you don't know who I am or you don't know what I do, let me introduce myself. I promised I was going to be diligent about this year. I'm a month in. I'm doing really good. Yay, Hercules. Win-win for me. What's going on, Raymond? So my name is Marcy Batiste. I am, hey Celeste, a public speaker and an author. And my mission is to help other women shine. That's that simple. Curing emotional bankruptcy is my specialty. And what I want more than anything and what I'm committed to beyond everything else is truly helping women to discover what I call their star power. And not only to discover it, but fully embrace it. And by embracing it, then they're able to also help other women shine. So I'm excited that you guys are here to join me in this wonderful mission, and my mission to lead this community of 1,000 women in 2018 on their transformational journey to cure emotional bankruptcy, find their star power, and absolutely build up their love, their life, their relationships, and their businesses. Oh, thank you, Celeste. That means a lot to me. Thank you. Ditto, babes. So that's what we're talking about. That's who I am. I also have a company called Bankable Success Advisors, where it's a leading recovery solutions provider. Recovery solutions being on the business side, domestic and workplace violence education and awareness, and as well as business contingency planning. So we want to be proactive in planning for disruption. Hey, how you doing, Mark? Welcome. And then on the personal side, like I said, my community of rising stars, 2018, the theme is raising the bar for my clients, raising the bar for myself. And with that comes this 30 books in 30 weeks reading series where I am sharing 30 different, very impactful, very informative personal development books. And each week we pick a new book and I bring to you lessons from each one of the reading selections. And this week is a topic that is near and dear to my heart as a trauma recovery specialist, as someone who teaches people how to cure emotional bankruptcy. And so it's called Codependent No More. Right here. And it's near and dear to my heart because the subject of codependency is extremely prevalent in domestic violence relationships. Most toxic relationships are various forms, hey Arthur, are various forms of codependency kind of accelerated. Heavily codependent people are typically in relationships with people who have addictions, alcohol, drugs, sex, you name it, very addictive behaviors. And so that's why Codependent No More is important, because before you can cure emotional bankruptcy and recover from trauma and get over your past hurts and pains and fears and flaws and failures, you have to make sure you're no longer codependent. And so tonight I want to really just kind of talk about, what does codependency look like? Who is it? How do you know if you might be codependent? One of the hallmark signs of codependent individuals is they become so absorbed in other people's problems that they don't have time to recognize, let alone deal with and solve their own. And so other people's problems become the focus finding solutions for them becomes the focus, and then the individual then is left behind, and we don't deal with our own problems. And that was me 150%, about, I would say about, for sure, 10 years ago, but even longer than that. I think when I really looked at it and I broke it down, I had most of my adult life I was in codependency because of issues that happened in childhood. So when I talk to you guys about trauma recovery and dealing with past pains, fears, flaws, and failures, we're talking about going all the way back sometimes, because that's how far you have to go back in order to cure what's ailing you now. Codependent people are so busy caring for everyone else, there's nothing left to care for them. And those of you who work with me, my clients know I'm always talking about, you can't pour from an empty cup. You can't pour from an empty cup. You can't pour from an empty cup. What's going on, Donovan? And so when you're constantly so absorbed in other people's problems and you're ignoring your own, your cup automatically diminishes, and then you're less impactful, you're less successful, and beyond everything else, y'all know I'm sold out to my happiness, you're less happy. It's difficult to find and secure happiness when you don't even know what it looks like for you. Oh, thanks, Donovan. Codependent people walk around angry a lot of times, like on the verge of a boiling point, and it just takes that one thing for them to snap. And so you think about how many people you know or that you interact with on a regular basis, maybe family members, who you're just like, dang, like they're always in a bad mood. They're always grumpy. Grumpy is totally a Marcy word. I don't think most people say grumpy, but I say grumpy. And I say pissed off a lot too. So it's one or the other. Grumpy is like mildly pissed off, basically. And so people that are codependent are just, it doesn't take much to just kind of flip that trigger and really send them to a whole other place. It's always just like boiling right below the surface, because they know that they're not happy, but they don't know how to get beyond that to find happiness, because they're not focusing on them. They're focusing on everyone around them. And so the same goes with what are the problems. The problems then become everybody else, what everybody else does, what everybody else says, how everybody else behaves. And we're not ever putting that mirror up to say, change starts here. And that's the key to becoming and curing codependency. You have to hold that mirror up and realize that codependency is your problem, and you're responsible for solving your own problems. It's not anybody else's job to fix it. And quite honestly, if you're affected by someone else's behavior, then you have an obligation to yourself to either enter into, as we talked about last week, a crucial conversation that suggests they change their behavior, or to eliminate that relationship. That's really the only thing that you can do. I was trying to think. Codependent people kind of are on a almost like a self-pity type of thing, is what it sounds like. The whole nobody's taking me seriously, I'm taken for granted, people overlook me, they take advantage of me. And in reality, you don't take yourself seriously. You don't take yourself seriously because you're not even putting enough thought into who you are, what your situation is. Hey, Lisa. Hey, Leo. To take yourself seriously. And so, again, the object is always someone else. It's never of self. And codependency, in order to cure it, you have to put that mirror on yourself. You have to figure out, where am I going wrong? What am I doing that's not making me happy? What's keeping me from finding happiness? And like I always say, like, I probably hear myself say this at least 30 times a week. Hey, Tiffany, happy birthday. I probably hear myself say this maybe 100 times a week. We teach people how to be in relation with us. And when we are in a codependent relationship, we are teaching them and we are co-signing their bad behaviors and saying, by staying in this relationship and by me staying engaged and me trying to resolve your problems so that I'm no longer focusing on my problems, I'm co-signing your bad behavior. I'm saying it's okay to mistreat me. It's okay to disrespect me. It's okay to behave the way you are. For instance, if you're in a relationship with an alcoholic, yes, alcoholism is a chemical dependency. It is a categorized, defined disease. That does not mean that someone who is an alcoholic who refuses to seek treatment, you have a responsibility to try and find them a cure. They're not trying to help themselves. You can't help them. And oftentimes codependent people tend to go after and be attracted to people who have other dependencies. And so that's where the codependency comes in. So I'm dependent on trying to fix the life and fix the problems of someone who has a dependency on something totally different and that I can't fix. But it's easier to focus on that than to focus on why I'm miserable, why I'm not achieving the goals that I want to achieve, why I'm not doing the things that I want to do, because I'm not focused on me. I can put all the attention on them. So it's a couple of things about codependence. First of all, one of the things that people often say about codependent people is they're crazy. Oh my God, she's crazy. She just snaps. He's crazy. He just flips out all the time. Or he's obsessed with other people. Or she's obsessed with, her man. Or she's obsessed about this. So they think that you're crazy. You're not crazy. You're just not focusing on the right things. And better is possible. So y'all know I'm always about better is possible. When you know, believe, and trust that better is possible, it's possible. You just need the tools in your toolbox. And that's these 30 books in 30 weeks. This personal development mission is about providing the tools and the strategies that you need to put in your toolbox. The other thing they always say about codependent people, or what people have to realize is that once you're codependent, you will always remain codependent until you decide to be something else. It doesn't just fall away. You don't just wake up one day and oh, I'm not codependent anymore. It doesn't work that way. You have to be strategic in putting tools in your toolbox, aligning yourself, getting the help that you need, whether it's counseling, whether it's coaching, whether it's a life coach, personal success coach. That's what I do. It's just not going to happen overnight. And we think that, well, if I break up and I end the relationship, this is what a lot of people think. They think if I end the relationship that I'm in with this codependent individual, that fixes the problem. No, it won't fix the problem. And the reason it won't fix the problem is because your codependency is within you, which means you will constantly seek out other people who are dependent and have other dependencies. You will seek out people who need to have their lives fixed. You will seek out people who want to have someone, take responsibility for them. There's a quote in this book where the lady is talking and she says, I'm not just a little bit codependent. She's like, I'm a lot codependent. Like, I just don't date men who want to go out and have a few beers after work. I date men who don't work. Like, that's the epitome of codependency. Like, you want to be the provider and the caretaker and the giver and everything for someone else, but you've not given anything to yourself. And they're sure as hell not giving anything back to you because they've got this other dependency: alcohol, drugs, sex, gambling, you name it. Work. There's all kinds of different addictions, food addictions. Like I tell you, I watch that show, 600 Pound Life. Those people have real addictions to food. And that's why it's so hard for them. And that's how they got to be that big. And then you watch their caregivers who are enablers, and codependents are enablers. You make it possible for those people to live with those dependencies. And it doesn't happen overnight, like I said, unless you truly, truly commit to getting the help that you need, seeking out, seeking counsel, seeking direction, and putting strategies in place and filling up that toolbox with tools to show you something else. And then what I titled this video tonight is, it's your responsibility. your problems are your responsibility. So while you may have entered into a relationship not codependent and somewhere along the line become codependent, once you are, you stay that way until you strategically align yourself with the tools to no longer be that. But that's your responsibility. No one else is going to fix it. So all the complaining and the griping and the this and nobody takes me seriously, nobody's going to take you seriously until you do. Nobody's going to respect you until you do. No one's going to honor you until you do. No one's going to be integrous with you until you walk in integrity with yourself. Okay, that's as plain as I can put it. Codependency can be cured. Codependency those behaviors can be changed, but not without strategic effort, strategic planning. And what I do in my business and with my clients is I focus on trauma recovery. I focus on healing these past pains, fears, flaws, failures, domestic abuse, sexual abuse, that have led to these codependencies, these behaviors of codependency. And you can't change the past. There's nothing you can do. Once a trauma has occurred, it's occurred. But you can reframe your attachment to the story. You can recreate the story. And more importantly, you can take what the story used to be and make it whatever you want it to be without ever denying that the instant happened, but focusing on someone else so that you don't have to focus on that trauma is never going to work. So if you guys have questions about trauma recovery, if you have questions about codependency, if you have questions about coaching, or just maybe want to run a scenario by me, my inbox is open 24 hours a day, and I promise I'll get back to you. So that's my message. That's my share. Tonight was week 1 from this little gem right here, Codependent No More, by Melody Beatty. It's a great book. It comes with there's a workbook that also goes along with it. And it was a game changer for me when I was recovering from domestic violence and a whole host of bad relationships. And I was the one single common denominator in every single case. And do you know why I was the single common denominator? Because I was codependent. And so no matter if I got out of those relationships or not, within a couple of weeks I was right back in another one. He looked different, he sounded different, but the behaviors, codependency, was all the same. And it wasn't until I was able to hold a mirror up to myself and look at myself objectively and admit that I was part of the problem. But if I'm part of the problem, then I am 100% of the solution, and that much I can promise you, so are you. So in the meantime and in between time, guys, as always, I love you. I appreciate you. Thanks for joining in. If you haven't already shared this out, please do. And if you head over to YouTube and want to catch any of the old videos from the last 3 weeks of teachings, feel free to do that. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. In the meantime and in between time, guys, thanks for living life on Mars. We'll talk soon.